Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Match Reaction for Chelsea 1, Benfica 0. Smash up the like, subscribe if you're new around here. All of that good stuff. And a massive, massive win for Chelsea. That is the biggest thing to take away from the game. Truth be told, it was a pretty scrappy game, pretty boring, pretty non-eventful, not an awful lot going on. But Chelsea had to win, and we did win, and we found a way, and we ground it out, and we dug in. And that's something we've not been able to do a lot this season. We kept a clean sheet. We didn't particularly make any mistakes. And, you know, you've got to take the small positives that you can take. Obviously, a bit of a strange night at Stamford Bridge. Jose Mourinho back at the club once again, getting a great reception from the fans, as he rightfully should do. But, yeah, we didn't offer much. We didn't offer much whatsoever. Of course, we got our customary red card, didn't we, guys? Red card again, ole, ole. Red card again, ole, ole. Red card again, red card again, red card again, ole, ole. 3 in our last 4. João Pedro picking up 2 needless bookings towards the end of the game, the first of which should never have been a booking, and the second of which could have easily been avoided if Jamie Gittins had just run the ball towards the corner flag. But it is what it is. Look, the lineup itself, I'll be real, when it came out, I wasn't particularly pleased. I have to be perfectly honest. Yes, you've got to make changes. Yes, you've got to make rotation. Games coming thick and fast. Players need rest. João Pedro needed rest and whatnot. I get it. But the options coming in, again, for me, highlight a real lack of quality in the squad in terms of quality and depth. We've got quantity, but quality and depth is simply not there. When you're fielding a front 4 of Tyreek George, Facundo Buonanotte, Neto, and Alejandro Garnacho in a Champions League game, with the amount of money we've spent, we've waited 895 days for Champions League football to come back to Stamford Bridge. And we put out a lineup that, in my view, wouldn't have particularly looked out of place in the League Cup. So that was a disappointment. But obviously, you know, we got the job done. And so you can maybe overlook that a little bit. But, you know, with the games coming thick and fast, when we're playing better sides and we've got to make changes and we've got to rotate, that's not good enough. And we're going to get punished. And once again, you know, the extent of the recruitment and how poor it's been has been laid bare with the changes that we are able to make. In terms of the first half, I actually thought the first half was pretty decent. You know, nothing spectacular, but it was good. You know, we looked good in midfield. Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez did well. Pedro Neto, who I thought was brilliant on the night, you know, was threatening going forward, worked really hard. And the goal comes from him putting a brilliant ball into the box. Garnacho cuts it back, and then Richard Rios, running back, just smashes it into his own net. And it's actually quite a decent finish from the Benfica midfield player. But after that, you know, we barely had any chances, and certainly none that I can really remember. Benfica certainly had the better chances in the first half. They hit the post early on, and for sure, if Benfica had, you know, more quality and more cutting edge and killer instinct in the final third, they could have definitely scored a couple of goals, and you know, they could have easily won on the night. Second half, Benfica stepped it up. Yeah, Maresca made some changes. You know, Gittins came on, who tried, but again is just so short of the level required right now. Esteval was really good when he came on, some really good dribbles, exciting, gets the crowd off their seats. But still, again, he's young, he's raw. Decision making is not the best at times. Hold on to the ball for too long instead of releasing it. But you know, there's a lot of ability there, a lot of talent there, and you know, he's offering a lot more than a Garnacho or a Gittins are at this point in time. Again, second half, it just felt like we were waiting for Benfica to score. You know, it was kitchen roll FC. We were just soaking up pressure, soaking it, and we dealt with it, in fairness. And we deserve credit for surviving that pressure, because we've folded and conceded stupid goals so many times already this season. So the clean sheet's the positive. I thought Chalobah and Badiashile defended well. Badiashile was certainly a positive on the night, and I think he will start against Liverpool. And, you know, there are no easy games in this competition. We see Tottenham drawing against Bodo Glimt. Liverpool, again, losing to Galatasaray. Champions League is the best of the best. Any win you can get deserves praise. But it was a really pretty average evening. And the less said about the game, the better, really. I don't know why Tyreek George keeps starting as a centre-forward. He's not a centre-forward. Maresca said after the game himself, George is not a centre-forward. you've got a centre forward in Mark Guiu on the bench and you just refuse to use him. I'm not even the biggest Guiu fan, but it's so clear right now that the plan is to bring Amiga in January and send Guiu to Strasbourg, which is why Guiu is not featuring at all. I honestly don't think Guiu will play a minute for us, because if he does, he can't play for another team. João Pedro suspended for the game against Ajax, so I'll be interested to see if Guiu gets a start there, but I imagine it'll probably be George down the middle again. And Tyreek George had an average night. He wasn't really involved in the game. He didn't really offer anything whatsoever, but he's doing a graveyard shift up there. He's not a centre forward. We're not really getting the ball for him. We're putting balls into the box, which is not really his forte, to try and get on the end of them. I did feel a bit sorry for him. I don't understand how a guy that was literally about to be sold on deadline day is now getting, pretty serious minutes for Chelsea this season. Decisions that don't really make sense. Facundo Buonanotte, he was okay, showed a few bits here and there, but come on, this is not the quality that we're talking about. You look at money spent, you look at how other teams are recruiting. Arsenal signed Eberechi Eze and was it Mascara? Was it Eze and Mascara, or maybe Eze and Hincape? Or I think it's Eze and Mascara. They signed for about 100 million, which is the same as we paid for Hato and Gittins. This is night and day in terms of recruitment. And this is the sort of thing that I've been banging on about, that we've got to improve. And I'm not writing any of these players off that we've signed, but so many of these guys need a lot of time to get to the level that they need. We need to be giving them 7, 8, 9, 10 starts on the bounce. Let them learn, let them make mistakes. That's all right at a Bournemouth, a Crystal Palace, teams like this. That's not okay at Chelsea. We have not got that luxury to be giving these players that opportunity. And these guys need to get up to the level as quickly as possible. But it looks like it's going to take a lot of time. So Garnacho, you can see there's a bit to work with. But again, he's a long way from the level. Gittins is a million miles away from the level required right now. Buonanotte, I would say the same. He's not at the level required at this point in time. And that, of course, is a major concern. João Pedro doesn't look fit. He's obviously rested. He wasn't fully fit. He looked a bit sluggish, looked lethargic. There's injury issues, there's fitness concerns. And that's why I was pleased that we got through this and we got the 3 points. But there's not an awful lot to shout home about. Cucurella named UEFA Man of the Match. He was decent, defended well. And it was interesting to see Chelsea playing with, at times, more traditional fullbacks, just traditional fullbacks with Cucurella and Gusto. Sometimes, both went inside. Other times they both stayed wide. And that's maybe an interesting evolution of the inverted fullback, or just the fullback play in general, that we might see from Maresca going forward throughout the season. So that could be something to keep an eye on. Gusto, who got heavily criticised at the weekend, actually thought he defended reasonably well in this game. So fair play to him for that. But otherwise, guys, 3 points, which is massive, a clean sheet, which is massive, no real errors, which is also huge. But unfortunately, the red card. João Pedro, just engage your brain. I mean, the referee, I felt, wasn't the best. How that game had 9 bookings in it and there wasn't really that many bad challenges whatsoever is beyond me. But Pedro's got to think. You've come on as a sub. I mean, seriously, what are we doing here? 3rd red card in 4 games. Misses the Ajax game now. And it's just a lack of discipline in the team yet again. And that's got to be stamped out. And that's got to be stamped out ASAP, because continually getting red cards is going to cause us a lot of problems throughout the season. We're lucky it's a 1-game ban and it's at home to Ajax, but it's not the point. It's not the point. This has got to stop, because it's going to cost us big time this season. In terms of any other notable performances, there weren't really any. There weren't really any. It was a really sort of uninspiring, tepid performance. But I kind of expected it. I sort of thought it was going to be a bit of a nervy occasion, and it was all about getting the win. That is all that mattered last night. All that mattered. Win, win, win. And we found a way to do it. We move on to Liverpool on Saturday now, which is going to be a tough game. They're not playing particularly well. There's going to be no Alisson for that game. I think Ekatike is a doubt as well, which is a boost. They're definitely there for the taking, but then arguably so are we. So I think we're in for a very interesting game, and one that is definitely there for Chelsea to record a massive win if they're at the top of if we're at the top of our game. But there's no guarantees we will be, and we'll have to play a lot better than that if we are going to be able to pull off a win against Liverpool. But guys, that's my thoughts on the game against Benfica. Uneventful, but a big, big win. Our first points on the board in this season's Champions League. And you guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Smash the like, subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll catch you lot again in another one soon. Up the Chelsea, and we're out. Love.